It's time for a new episode of my favorite YouTube series, New and Must-Have Crafty Supplies, where I go hunting for some new supplies that interest me and share the ones that I love with you. Hi everyone, I'm Rebecca Keppel, and it has been a minute since I've had a New and Crafty Supplies video, so I'm super excited to share some of the new things that I've been playing with. Some of these are not brand new, since it's been a while since I've done one. I've collected a few things that I wanted to try out. So today I have some stamps and dies from Concord and 9, POLY-GLAZE Foiling Sheets from Gina K Designs, a die set from Pinkfresh Studio, new Colorblend cardstocks from Simon Says Stamp, and their new embellishment tool and replacement nibs. So let me share a little bit more about each of these supplies. Here are all the supplies I couldn't resist picking up this month, so we're just going to quickly go through them. This is the braided and rounded die set from Pinkfresh Studio. You can see there's the rounded corners and straight corners, plus there's an embellishment layer that you can cut as well. So I'll use that in a lot of different ways. Next up are the POLY-GLAZE Foiling Sheets from Gina K Designs. I have diamonds and I have sentiments, so we'll see how those work. And the Colorblend Pastel pack from Simon Says Stamp. I loved the previous Colorblend cardstock that they had. I love how it's got a shiny element to it, and it's this pre-blend that looks like you did a beautiful soft ink blend, and you can use it in lots of different ways. So we'll use a bunch of those today. And the Concord and 9th Fashion Shoppe Stamps and Dies. This is one that I had my eyes on when I bought the record sets, and I wanted to check it out. I love the little dresses. There's a mirror. You can make it into a boutique, or you can just do some fashion elements on your card. There's so many fun ways to use it. This is the Place and Score embellishment tool from Simon Says Stamp. They also have a Place and Pierce tool, but I already had a Pierce tool, so I wanted to try out that scoring tool, and we'll use that later in the video, as well as the placement tool, which is a wax nib, and you can get replacement nibs for this. I like the white wax nib because it doesn't leave a mark. So when you're using the POLY-GLAZE sheets, you're going to use Deco foil that is applied with heat but not a press. So we're going to use a laminator, and we're going to use the black label Deco foil. The color side is going to face up, the silver side is going to face down onto that element of POLY-GLAZE. I'm going to put mine in a carrier sheet, which is just a special wax paper that really helps it slide through the laminator without getting crumpled up. After it comes out, you can see that the foil imprints perfectly on the POLY-GLAZE. This is similar to how you would use the toner sheets, but somehow, because there's no black, you don't see any missed spots here. So even on those delicate sentiments, I found that the POLY-GLAZE and the Deco foil transfer sheets worked perfectly together. So again, this is not the hot foil. This is the Deco foil that you can get from Thermoweb. So anything that would run through a laminator or a mink machine can be used with these POLY-GLAZE sheets. And I am just using a basic laminator and different colors of the Deco foil to create a bunch of backgrounds and sentiments. When I want to do two colors on one POLY-GLAZE card, I'm going to use a little bit of pixie tape to hold it in place on the back. So anything that is on the bottom, the pink there that's on the bottom, is what's going to transfer. So there's blue on the bottom at this one part of the card, and then there's pink at the bottom at the other part of the POLY-GLAZE sheet. So when you pull it off, I've got sentiments in Glass Slipper, and I've got sentiments in Enchanted Rose, and I've linked all of the foils that I use down below. So you can see there's a lots of ways you can use this. You could do a multicolor on the diamonds as well, but I loved the solid color or using those rainbows. So here's all the foiled backgrounds and sentiments I was able to create so quickly in rainbow, light blue, light pink, gold. There's so many options. Now let's use those supplies to make some cards. First up, let's use the braided and rounded die set from Pinkfresh Studio and the Colorblend cardstock. So you can see you use the outside shape to cut the shape, and then the inside piece of the die to cut out the detail layer. You can use a Spellbinder's tool in one brush to get out those tiny little bits that don't want to come out automatically. Then you can use some scissors to cut out the sentiment that you want out of the POLY-GLAZE sheet. So first I'm just going to cut out the large piece, and then I'll use some smaller scissors to detail cut around the outside of the letters and some foam tape to pop it up. So you can see I have that Colorblend cardstock that was die cut with that detail layer and the shape layer on some white cardstock, so you can see that detail layer really pops out. This is the Milwaukee sequin set from Catherine Pooler. I didn't get this in time to use with those soda pop bottles that I love so much, so I wanted to share it with you now because I think it's a really great mix of colors and sizes. So this is how you use the Simon Says stamp placement tool. If you've used any type of embellishment tool, this is very similar. You've got that wax end to pick up the sequins and place them on top of a dot of liquid glue. For this card, I am going to use some Arctic's washi tape to tape off the white parts of the POLY-GLAZE sheet so that I can ink blend over the foiled elements without getting any on the white around the outside. I will use some Distress Oxide Salvaged Patina and start in the middle and go in a circular motion towards the outside. So the darkest part of the ink is going to be in the center of the cardstock, which creates kind of a spotlight for the center of the card, and then very light on the outside. If you cover up the foil, you can use a dry cloth or a paper towel to buff it off, and you'll still be able to see the foil because it acts as a resist for the ink. So check that out. You get a two-tone color with that salvaged patina background and that enchanted rose foil. The Concord & 9th Fashion Shoppe Stamps have some really great sentiments. This one says, "Go forth and be fabulous," which I absolutely love, and fabulous is in a script font while the rest is in a straight typeface. The dies have these little elements so that you can create the body form, and you can create dresses and the little legs for the body form at the bottom. So I cut the body form out of white cardstock, I cut the little legs out of black cardstock, and then I cut each of the dresses out of a different part of the Colorblend cardstock. So it will go from lightest to darkest from left to right. And all three of these together just look so cute. So this card actually already went to my daughter because she wants to study fashion design and she is going off to college in the fall. So I thought this was a perfect card to tell her to go forth and be fabulous. Even though all the elements in the die set are tiny, they're large enough that you can use liquid glue behind them. For the sentiment, I decided to stamp it in black ink on white cardstock, but I'm going to mat it on some black cardstock and then pop it up with some black foam squares to make it really stand out on all those light colors in the background. And then it also kind of ties the card together with the legs of the body form and the mat on the sentiment both being black. So just a really simple way to put together a different looking card, and I love making cards like that for other people. Here's a Spellbinders embossing folder. It's This Plus That, it's called, and I use that on the Colorblend cardstock. You can absolutely emboss them, die cut them. You can even stamp and heat emboss on them. So this one I decided to use as the background for another of the diamond POLY-GLAZE that I cut out of just the shape of the braided and rounded and not the detail layer. So there's lots of different ways you can use those dies either together or separately. And then again, the Simon Says stamp, score, and place tool to place a bunch of the sequins from that Milwaukee sequins stamp set. Love this combination of light blues, teals, aqua, just really a very pretty card that you could use for lots of different birthdays. You can also use the braided and rounded die set with just the embellishment level. Here's the Arnold's Drive-In 6x6 pattern paper pad from Catherine Pooler. This was another one I just didn't order in time to use with the soda pop bottles, but I love this pattern paper pad, so I wanted to use at least one of them in this video. And this pattern paper, I'm going to stamp the sentiment from the Fashion Shoppe stamp set and heat emboss it with gold embossing powder. And this time I've used the smaller die from the Braided and Rounded set to cut out that little pattern paper element so that we can put the sentiment on it. So just put a little tape runner behind the 4.5 by 5 1/4 piece of Colorblend cardstock that we cut the detail layer on, and place it on top of white cardstock so you can really see that detail layer pop in the back. You could also use a darker color of cardstock to make it pop, and then use some foam tape to pop up the sentiment and the Simon Says stamp score and place tool to place these sequins. This is from the Celebration set from Pretty Pink Posh. I love their sequins and their confetti, you know this. So I just think this is such a simple, clean and simple card that really comes together so beautifully. Those Colorblend cardstocks really make a pretty background. The Simon Says stamp score and place tool has a scoring end, so I thought the Colorblend cardstock would be perfect to try with this. I'm going to place it Colorblend down onto my score pal and then use the scoring side to draw lines. And I have the score pal that's every 1/8 of a line, so I am going to do 2 right next to each other and then skip 1. So it'll create a unique striped pattern, and this is a really fun way to use a scoring tool to create an embossed look on your cardstock. So it would be debossed if I had done it in the other side of the cardstock, but it's embossed because I flipped it over. So I really, really love this background. I'll be using this again to create my own striped background. I have a smaller piece of Colorblend cardstock, and remember how I said you could stamp and heat emboss on them? They do have a slightly slick surface, so you would want to be careful with regular ink, but if you're heat embossing, you're going to cover that with embossing powder and then heat set it, which is going to stick it right onto that Colorblend cardstock. If you used a specialty ink that was good for acetate or things like that, you could also use that on this type of cardstock. But you don't want to use just a regular ink that's going to smear off. Now, the Fashion Shoppe dies have this mirror, and it's got kind of a border around the outside or the frame of the mirror. So I cut that out of Spellbinder's Mirror Silver cardstock. And now I'm going to use the Place It tool to place down these tiny little high-heeled shoes. So our sentiment says you're classy from head to toe. So I was going to add a hat, but there wasn't a ton of room. So I thought just the shirt, skirt, and the shoes on the mirror was kind of cute. And I have the different Colorblend cardstocks for all of the elements on this card, from the sentiment to the background to even the shirt and the skirt and this little die cut element that's going to house them in the center of the card. So definitely think about using your score tool to create a fun pattern in the background. You also don't have to use the POLY-GLAZE sheets as they are. You can die cut them as well. So I'll die cut the background of the rainbow, and I'm going to use the detailed layer on one of the Colorblend cardstocks. I'll also use a Colorblend cardstock for a love die. That is from Catherine Pooler as well. It was a free die for orders of 75 or more. The last I checked, there were still some available. So hurry and check that out if you're interested. So if you could tell, I have the background diamonds in rainbow. I cut out the love word die out of, that's the retro word die from Catherine Pooler, out of gold diamonds. And I'm trying to kind of line them up together just so that the pattern sort of seems continuous. I tried to, I got close, I think, but I love the 2 different colors of foiling on this card, the gold and then the mystic rainbow. And of course, some sequins just to add a little bit of embellishment, dimension, and shine to that rainbow background. And all the foiling and sequins together just have a really wow look to them. So easy to put together though. I always find it tough to pick my favorite out of the new and must-have crafty supplies, but I'd love to know if one was your favorite today. Let me know in the comments below. YouTube thinks you might be interested in checking out this video next. As always, I want to thank you so much for stopping by and spending time with me today. Please stay safe, stay healthy, and I'll see you again soon. Color what? Color what? Colorblend. Oh my gosh. Okay, boop, 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 boop. That was really fast.